Good evening, church family. So glad that you're able to join us here tonight through our streaming. We wanted to take just a moment to say thank you for joining us either on Facebook or on YouTube. And tonight we're going to be going through a little bit of a new study, introducing a new study, and wanted to do that here through streaming. I'm actually going to even try to sit down. And I know some of you are at home even going, yeah, that's not going to last very long. But just so glad to have you here. I'm very thankful to have Jody. You can't see Jody, but Jody's here on running the sound booth for me tonight. And just want to say thank you to everybody who is here. And let's sort of go ahead and jump into it. Tonight we were originally planning on meeting in person, and unfortunately, because of the cold, and right now there's a lot of sickness going around. Please be in prayer for that as well. I know quite a few people that went on the Truett Camp trip are sick, including Cameron. And just please keep all the kids and things in your prayers as we continue to go forward. I do want to open this up tonight, just in a quick word of prayer, and then we'll jump into our lesson. And as you can probably see behind me, tonight's lesson is on the River Jordan. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that after the prayer, but let's just jump into the prayer really quickly. God, we say thank you for the day. We thank you for an opportunity to be here. God, I know the people that are watching, we're not able to be here during our praise band rehearsal, but God, I thank you so much for the blessing that was. And God, I pray that you would just continue to bless our church. God, we look forward to all the wonderful things that you have in store for us. And we say all these things in your son's name we do pray. And amen. I do want to start, tonight is the sort of the beginning of a new series. A couple of weeks ago, and I actually get to blame Jody for this because I haven't had it written down. A couple of weeks ago, Jody did a lesson with the kids out in children's church about the floating axe head. And what is really interesting about that narrative is it made me start thinking about the Jordan River. And there's a couple of reasons for this. If you did not know it, you would just sort of go, well, of course we're going to talk about, no, sorry, of course the Jordan River is in the Bible, but I don't know about you, I've never really stopped to think and just study, where does it show up and why does it show up and why is it always sort of constant here? And so I want to talk a little bit about that tonight. Now, like I said, this is probably going to be, we'll see, it's probably going to be about a 3-4 lesson study. I want to do it sort of quickly because as we get to the end of this, hopefully you'll see why. Now, Jody also is going to be able to switch the screen, so you'll not see me. I'll keep talking. You might see the images behind me. Whenever we talk about the Jordan River, I don't know about you, but this is what I see, and this is what I always think of. This is just a map or an image of a drawing of Israel, and you get a drawing of the Jordan River. And so much of like what we talk about, what I teach about, especially through Christmas, and even whenever it happened a little bit this past Sunday, is how do we make this real? I don't know about you, but whenever I think about the Jordan River, this is about as much as I can usually think of. It's just a blue line. There's the Dead Sea, there's the Sea of Galilee, and that's sort of it for me. What if we were to look at it like this? This is a picture of the Jordan River as it is today. I hope you can see it. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to sort of stand up just for a second. In the background, there's a business. And this is still the same. This is still the same Jordan River that we read about in the Bible. So much so that if you happen to go on a Holy Land tour, one of the things that you can do, being good Baptist, I kind of would expect it from you, is to be baptized in the Jordan River. And you can see they have it nice. They have it worked out fairly well of how that works. And uh, it's a very, it's like every other river that we know of. And whenever we put it that way, what I want to do in the this time tonight is I want to, number one, make this a real place. But number two is I want you to think about this in the perspective of, with us being mountain people. I mean, most of us are pretty close to the river. We've seen it, especially with the hurricane. We've seen it rise, and we've seen it do this, flood, and we've seen those types of things. But this is something that was real, and it has an important part in the life of the children of Israel. So let's talk about some of these facts. Again, I don't know about you, but whenever I think about this, again, all I'm thinking about is is a line, a blue line in the back of my Bible as I'm studying. So let's talk about some of these facts. Number one, it's the longest river in Israel. That should not catch you by surprise, considering every time we sort of draw the map of it, we sort of put this into it. The river actually flows from Mount Hermon south. It actually stops in a little lake, and that's where they actually say is the official start of the Jordan River. It runs into the Sea of Galilee, and then from the Sea of Galilee down to the Dead Sea. Now, if you read it, they tell me that it's about 150 miles long. The reason that we have to say that it's about that long is this: the where the river starts is a lake, and they're kind of measuring during a normal season from the end of that lake to the Sea of Galilee, which they estimate at about 15 miles. And then from the Sea of Galilee down to the Dead Sea, about 135 miles. So that's how we get our measurement. Again, I'm not there. I can't know where does the lake end and the river begin. Someone else who is smarter than me has figured that out, and they've put this together. So they say it's about 150 miles long. Just to give you a reference, many of you understand where the French Broad River is here in western North Carolina. The French Broad River, in comparison, the French Broad River is 219 miles long. And even including the lakes, the River Jordan sort of gets close to that, but not really. So I want you to have a comparison of something. This is, if you go look up the rivers of the world, and I did, it's not even listed because it is so short that the list stops around 1,000 miles is the only ones that they're sort of counting in those lists. So I want you to understand that this is very important for Israel. But whenever we're comparing sizes and those types of things, this is how big it is. When we're talking about this, I don't know about you. I again think of the flannel graphs. I think of all the images people have painted, and I go, I don't think about just a normal river. The average depth of the Jordan River, and again, average, some places it's deeper, some places it's more shallow, all of those things, is somewhere between 2 and 10 feet deep. And it averages about 100 feet wide. I want you to think about that, because whenever you're reading things such as the children of Israel crossing the Jordan River, you're going, that puts it in perspective of what we're talking about here. The only exception of this is whenever it floods. It floods in the springtime in Israel, and of course, with us here recently, we understand what floods happen to do. It is the world's lowest elevation river, which means that the majority of the river flows below the flow of the river is lower than the sea level for most of its length. And so what that really does mean is it makes it unique. It makes it a little odd too, which is what plays into the Dead Sea and those types of things. Let's talk about, however, let's talk about how it's mentioned. You and I probably have heard, and I know I've said it, if the Bible mentions it more than one time, we should probably pay attention. When the Bible repeats itself, when the Bible does this, it mentions things over and over again, we need to really sort of see what's happening. Do you realize the Jordan River is mentioned over 180 times just in the Old Testament? And it's mentioned 15 times in the New Testament. Most of those being with John the Baptist and Jesus at Jesus' baptism. So, this has a repeating place in our Bible. And what I want to do with you over the next couple of Wednesday nights is just take you on this journey of looking at what's happening with the river, what's happening with Israel during these times. It is most often as a border. It's a sort of like a location. Best way to explain that is how it's mentioned. Tonight, when we're studying, we're going to get, for tonight as we end this, we're going to be in the book of Genesis. So if you're watching, again, just go ahead and turn over to the book of Genesis, and that's where we're going to be, because we're going to talk about this mostly as a border. If you remember back, it was the big border between the Promised Land and sort of what was the Promised Land and everything that wasn't the Promised Land. This makes it interesting because then when we talk about Moses coming back and we sending the spies into the Promised Land and those types of things, what do we do with them? Do we let them cross over the Jordan River? Do we make them go around? What do we do with them in this idea of it? It was a political divider of the nation of Israel. When we're studying, especially when we get over to the land being divided up, especially with Moses talks about it, but Joshua is the one who actually does it, and he puts everybody in the tribes where they're supposed to be. One of the big dividers politically is those nations that the children of Israel that are outside of that border, and they take on lands that are not, by definition, the promised land, and there's some political divide on that. What's also interesting in this aspect is that it helps us to think about it, and we go, okay, so if this is just a river, like we think about, we would think about it being, that's where all the cities would be, and this is where all the locations would be, and actually it's not. The Jordan River does not function the way that the Nile functions for Egypt. Now, if you ever study history, world history, those types of things, the Nile is their economical commerce highway for them. Almost a lot of Egypt's money comes in and goes out through that. The Jordan River just is not that. It never will be for Israel. Most of the time, it's used for fishing and water supply, and that's it. They don't do a lot of other things. It's horrible for irrigation. One of the problems with the Jordan River is that it's extremely rocky. One of the rabbit holes I dove into getting ready for this is it went into how the riverbed's laid out and all the things around it. Well, one of the things that they have a hard time with is irrigation. It's horrible for irrigation. So I go back to it. It's just used primarily for water supply, as in people going and getting water from it, which is not always what they did. Most of the time they end up digging wells. It's too shallow and rocky in spots for any boat. So whenever we're reading about the Sea of Galilee, when we're talking about them being at the sea, like you have to understand it's not in the River Jordan. So when we talk about them being caught up in the storm and Jesus is asleep in the boat, one place we can guarantee that it is not is on the Jordan River. And when we think about it, that helps us sort of put more in perspective of where some of these locations end up happening. One of the benefits, though, to all of this is that it is a military, it has a great military purpose. Very few times in the Old Testament will another nation try to forge, the river, try to just go across it. If you go and you look, even whenever Israel is put into exile, whenever they get cast into all these other things, all the nations will come in from the top or they'll go in from the bottom, like they go from north or south, and they sort of just miss the river completely. And there's a reason for that, because, again, they're going to it's not a really good place to get across, with very few exceptions. There's just no easy way of getting across this river. And so it has a great settlement for Israel. Let's talk about some of the cities that did end up making it around the River Jordan. One of them is Dan. Now, one of the northernmost cities of the Jordan Valley. Dan was a heavy fortified city for the tribe of, obviously, Dan. So they named the tribe. The tribe was named Dan, and they named the town this as well. Now, if you're looking for this in today's maps, it has a different name. And I was including that, and I took it out mostly just because when we're reading our Bible, we'll look into that. Now, Bethsaida is a small fishing village that is on the Jordan River. And the reason that it's important to us is because this is the home of Philip, Andrew, and Peter. So when we just got through reading about this past Sunday, when we read Mark chapter 1, and Jesus went with Peter and Andrew and James and John to Peter's house. This is the town they went to. And again, sort of helping you with those types of things. Capernaum is another town. It was a town that was built during the Roman period. It is one of the most important. It's one of the most important cities in Jesus' ministry because he visits it quite often, and throughout his ministry, he will go there over and over again. And then probably the most famous of all of these, if I was going to ask you, is there a city that was built near the Jordan River? You would tell me Jericho. It is one of the oldest. It was one of the most fortified cities in the world, and it was renowned. It was known for its mighty walls, which is as we're studying as Christians, we kind of laugh because we know what happened to them, and so there are others, but these are sort of the main four that will happen throughout studying of this topic. Now, there really is in my mind, there's about two ways of studying the Jordan River. You can study it by how people interacted with it, and I think this is a phenomenal study. You have to understand that Joshua did that. There were many battles in the book of Judges around the Jordan River. David has many encounters with the Jordan River, both positive and negative, and war, and it's always this battle of protection and land. We talked about Elijah and Elisha. Whenever Elijah is called up into heaven, it's right around the Jordan River. And then we sort of jump forward, and you can talk about obviously John the Baptist and Jesus. And we talk about these, so if we were going to study this would be a great way to go about this study, is to talk about how each of these sort of people interacted with the Jordan River. I think there's another way, and I want to sort of give this to you as well, because I feel like this is probably more of how we're going to look at it. You can look at it from a perspective of protection. The Jordan River did a lot to protect the children of Israel. And really do think this is the reason for it being the border to the promised land. This was the reason for how the reason it's mentioned so many times, specifically whenever we're talking about battles and war. We can talk about it as identification. Now, tonight, the verses in Genesis that we're going to read tonight sort of fall under that category. It just sort of helps us understand where we are. They're going to use it as identification. The third way, which we're going to spend probably at least 2 nights talking about, is this idea of renewal. And we're going to talk about it. Whenever I think about that, I really do think about baptism. I think about some of the other major events that happened when we talk about renewal and how that relates to us baptizing and the idea of I'm pointing behind me of us baptizing people into the church and those types of things. So there, like I said, there's 2 ways of studying it. Both are great ways. Like I said, there's so many reference points that if you just said, okay, I'm going to read every reference of the Jordan River, it gets a little bit big, and you're going trying to go, okay, what's happening at these places? So I really want to help break it down for you, really into those three areas. So let's dive into one just really quickly, and then we'll get into our prayer time. Not going to be very long tonight. The first place I want you to have, if you have your Bible, I want you to turn to Genesis chapter 32. Now, I'm going to put verse 10 on the screen, and I'm going to read along. I want you to read along, but I'm going to actually go back and read verse 9 just so that you can sort of get the context of what's happening here. So in Genesis chapter 32, this is Jacob and Esau, and Jacob he's scared of Esau, figuring that he's probably going to get some type of retribution back towards him. So I'm going to start in verse 9, but verse 10 is the reference here. And Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, O Lord, who said to me, return to your country and to your kindred, that I may do you good. This is verse 10. I am not worthy of the least of all the deeds of the steadfast love and all the fulfillment of all that you have shown to your servant. For with only my staff I crossed this Jordan, and now I have become 2 camps. So this is used it really is used as a point of identification. Now, it's also a point of redemption. Jacob here is talking about how much his life has changed since being back at this place. But really, this is about identification. He wants you to know where he's at, what he's done, the journey he's been on, and what he's getting ready to do. So if you were just, so the next time that you're sort of in a sermon and you get dropped in on this verse, you have to understand, it's just, again, identification of all the things Jacob has been doing. And if you don't know Jacob and you get dropped in on this verse, this would be a great time for you to hit pause and then go back and read some of the things that Jacob has done. The other place, and I'm just going to give you the reference for this one, I'm not going to put it up on the screen, is Genesis chapter 50. Now, the reason that I want to give this to you is I want you to sort of look at it. Verse number 10 starts off, when they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond the Jordan. So there again, what are we using it as? We're using it as an identification. So where is this place at? Well, it's beyond the Jordan. They lamented there with very great and grievous lamentations in the mourning of his father 7 days. So understanding this is a death, this is a funeral. And so when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning and on the threshing floor of Atad, they said, this is a grievous mourning of the Egyptians. Again, going back to Jacob and Joseph. Therefore, the place was named Abel Mizraim. That's my best guess at that word. It is beyond the Jordan. So again, how are they using the term Jordan River here? They're using it as identification. Where is this location at? The reason for this is, again, going back to making sure that if a town has similar names, which one are we talking about? The way that we would, sort of the way that we would kind of explain it would be, hey, there's the name of this town. Well, where's it at? Well, it's over here. It's by this. Same idea is going on here. Verse number 12, thus the sons did for him as he commanded them. So the idea here is, again, is they're doing it. They're going through the location of this river. Now, like I said, next week I am praying, number one, that it gets warmer. Number two, hopefully that you'll be able to come and be a part of this with us. And I really want us to sort of dive into a little bit more, have some handouts and things to help you along with, okay, what is this idea that's behind this Jordan River, especially being about protection? And we'll talk in a couple of weeks, we'll talk about redemption as well. I look forward to going through this study with you. This is something that interests me. This is what Wednesday nights end up being. This type of Bible study end up being is this doing a little bit of a deep dive into a few different things. So I pray that you'll be able to come and join us again next Wednesday night. Let me go through a couple of prayer requests and prayer things that have come through for us. And as we're sharing these, wanted to keep encouraging you. Please keep praying. If something happens, please use our texting program. If something happens and you'd like for us to add you to the prayer list, please do that as well. Just going to go through a couple of things really quickly. Number one, I'm checking my cell phone to make sure no one else messaged me while I was teaching. Please keep Miss Pam in your prayers. Please keep her just as not only with pain, but also pray for her and Bob and healing that is hopefully coming soon. Ted asked us to be praying for him as well. And then also Tracy Salter scheduling for an upcoming procedure. So please keep all three of those people. They're just our church family. Please keep them in your prayers. What's always interesting, whenever we take a break, I typically take most of the things off of our prayer list. That way, whenever we come back together, we can start adding to them again. I want to go ahead and sort of do a little bit of announcements, and I'm sorry I don't have the announcement slides, but just a couple of things I want to share with you, just to keep you reminded of them, and number two, keep praying for them. Please pray for Renee Peebles. She is a missionary for us. We support her. She is going to be coming this Sunday to speak. I look forward to her speaking and giving us an update on what is happening with her. So please keep her in your prayers. That's happening this Sunday. The luncheon is also this Sunday. And like I said on Sunday, sometimes you have to announce things that happen to and for you. We're very grateful for so much support. And we look forward to that time. Just time of fellowship and get together. Please check out, I think it's our Facebook page has that event on there. So please be in prayer for that. Super Bowl fellowship's coming up. That is, I think, February 9th. Someone might correct me on that. I'm really excited. It's just, again, a fun time to get together, fellowship, and have fun. And one of the things that we do here at Lighthouse often is have fun. You're allowed to. And we want to encourage you to come and be a part of that with us as well. Last thing I want you to be praying for as far as church ministry goes is our Chosen series. This is going to be a Bible study that's going to be starting. I have it written down as February 13th. I think that's correct. Please be in prayer for that study. It is there's quite a few people already signed up for it. There's still room, still opportunity for you to sign up. Please check out either our announcements and or our Facebook page for that event as well. We know we have many friends and extended family that we're praying for, mostly because this is live streamed. I'm not going to share those names right at the moment, but please keep those in your prayers. And then we also have praises. One of the things that I want to continue to be praying for, because we are so thankful for it, is the many opportunities that are in front of Lighthouse. The Region 10 rally, the Revelation reading, Vacation Bible School, the renewal services that are going to happen this summer. So excited about all of those things. And those are all praises because I'm looking forward to what God's going to be doing in and through our Lighthouse family. So this is what I'd like to do. I ask that you join me in prayer wherever you are and wherever you're listening to this at. Please pray with me. Lord, we say thank you for this day. I thank you for being able to have the opportunity and the technology to reach our church family this way. Lord, I do pray for those requests, those physical requests. Lord, I pray for those who are in physical need. Lord, I pray that you would bless each one of them. I pray you bless each opportunity that is there. I pray you bless their doctors. I pray you bless them, that they'd have wisdom in under helping them get through their things. God, I also pray for those who are hurting spiritually tonight as well. God, I pray that someone that might be watching this and they just stumbled upon it on YouTube or on Facebook, Lord, I pray that the day would be the day of salvation for them. God, I pray for their spiritual healing. I pray for their physical healing. God, I say thank you for all the wonderful things you're doing in and through Lighthouse. I look forward to this upcoming Sunday and hearing Renee speak. I look forward to the fellowships that are coming up and the Bible studies and the region rally. God, I praise you for blessing us with the wonderful opportunities that are coming up with Vacation Bible School and with the renewal service and the Revelation reading. God, I pray that through all of this, we would give you all the honor and all the glory. God, I thank you for my church family tonight. I thank you again for this opportunity. But I pray that you would just continue to bless each one. For it is in your son's name we do pray.